Welcome to another Kings of War Battle Report, Wildcat practice. Elves versus Orcs, 2,000 points. The scenario was dominate. The skies cry when elves die. Ancient elf saying, source, historian Sean Dietrich, The Forest Wars, Volume 2. Okay, this is the orc list I am going to play at the Wildcat GT. I've submitted it right off the bat. It is based on Eric Trowbridge's Masters winning army of a couple of years ago. It has 2 hordes of Great Axe, one with the Potion of the Caterpillar and both with skull poles, a horde of Axe with a Brew of Sharpness and a skull pole, 2 regiments of Morax, both with skull poles, 5 regiments of Orclings, Big Axe, my Crudger, who has Gakamak's Bloody Banner and the Sacred Horn, my other Crudger, Bad Axe, my War Drum, Drum Axe, also 3 Crushers, all with mounts, one with the Blade of Slashing, one with the Mace of Crushing, and one with the War Bow of Kaba. And finally, my Wildcat model, Wild Axe. All right, this is Jeremy Nix's army. Jeremy moved back to Tennessee a few months ago and now resides here permanently. Yay! So he has taken up the mantle of Elves, and he's probably our local elf player, even though we have other people that play him sometimes. His army starts off with 2 hordes of Draken Riders, one with the Potion of the Caterpillar and one with the Chant of Hate, a Palace Guard regiment, 2 troops of Kindred Archers, 1 regiment of Glade Stalkers, 2 troops of Silver Breeze Cavalry, 2 Lords on Drakens, an Archmage with a Boomstick, an Archmage on a horse with the Inspiring Talisman and Bane Chant 2. Must note that Jeremy was the first player locally to be able to take down Sean Dietrich's Trident Realm, and he has an excellent plan with this army to be able to get rid of it using some missile fire and then using the tough hordes of Draken Riders to crash through things. That Draken Rider horde with the Chant of Hate is just vicious. On to deployment. One of the things that my army has over Jeremy's army is I have a ton more deployments. I think I have 17 deployments, maybe 18 with this army. And that helps me a lot when the other guy has an elite army. So I'm able to put my heroes in a position to take advantage of his low numbers. And what I did is when I was done, I saw him pile everything over into that corner. I stuck all 3 Crushers and the Great Axe and Wild Axe, my Wildcat, and the War Drum, and my General Big Axe who has the horn and the aura of Wild Charge. So everything is piled in the corner in a deep fashion to be able to blunt that and to keep having good places to land and be able to pick and choose his fights. That's the biggest problem with flying armies is they get to pick and choose their fights a little better than this army does. So I thought I would just flood him on that flank. So everything here is piled in this corner. Right, the first unit to the right there is a unit of Great Axe with 2 units of Orclings in front of them, and then a unit of Axe with 3 units of or 2 more units of Orclings in front of them. And finally, on the other end was another Great Axe horde with 1 unit of Orclings who was going to shoot up there and just camp out to hopefully take that objective. Jeremy literally piled everything in the corner. So he has a unit of Silver Breeze, the Wildcat, both units of Drakens, one of the Princes on Drakens, and then over next to them are the Glade Stalkers, and then the Palace Guard adjacent to them. Finally, the second Draken Rider, and then the 2 units of archers, the troops of Kindred Archers, and then another troop of not Glade Stalkers, but Silver Breeze cavalry over there. And that was just a delaying units. Those are all just delaying units over on that flank to slow them down. And because the real battle, and it has to be, is on, since he's got like 80% of his points are piled into 2 feet of table. The battle has to be on this end. There's just no way around it. So Jeremy's developed this plan where basically everything in the army is chaff except the 2 Draken hordes, and they are vicious son of a guns. So to that end, he moves his Silver Breeze up and the Wildcat. Behind them is the Draken Rider Both units of Drakens are angling now to try to get some good angles. The Glade Stalkers are in the woods to shoot, and also the Palace Guard have moved up to the edge of the woods. I don't think they're visible yet. The other unit of Silver Breeze comes zipping across the table to do some shooting, and the second Draken Rider goes ahead and lands in the forest, and I guess he's going to try to jump the lines for the next turn. Those guys aren't as scary as some. I mean, they only have 5 swings, so it's not like that they're super death units, but you still don't want to catch one in the flank or rear. All right, over on this flank, basically everything just moved forward to start shooting at my Orklings. It's pretty obvious that everything on this flank is expendable. I mean, there's nothing over here that he needs to have to win. But the problem is I have a whole bunch of regiments of Orklings and 2 massive hordes of Orcs over here to try to get within 12 inches of the center of the table. So really my whole plan is to just delay everything on the right-hand side and to just come up there and eventually claim the middle of the table with those 2 big hordes of Orcs. All right, you can see my movement here. I just chaffed everything. I took all 3 heroes on the Crushers and ran them out there, and I ran the Wildcat out there to chaff things up. I pretty much knew he was going to jump all those units and charge into my Morax, but Morax can usually take care of themselves. I mean, I have the War Drum behind that little tower there, so they're dash 17, so it would take a dice rolling miracle to bust through that unit anytime soon. So everything else just moved up flush. All the Orklings just moved forward 10 inches as far as they could go to start trying to jam his army up. So the whole part of my plan is just trying to jam the army and make him have to think about his moves a little further. I mean, if you just come straight forward into this Orc army, you're going to die. So this is, or if I let him come straight forward into him, I could die because he could get double charges and stuff. But so anyway, this is what I said. This is just trying to get him to have to think about where he goes and to attack one unit at a time as opposed to being able to mass charge things. Here's just another view of the battlefield. You can see where I've moved everything up forward to jam him and try to eventually, knock down, keep some of his flyers from flying. I had moved the Crudger with the Aura just to the little bit to the left side of that tower because I figured he was going to jump behind my lines. The dumb thing I did was let him see him, and so I would probably end up paying for that because I really didn't think he had the guts to charge a Orc Crudger, especially standing beside a War Drum, because that guy has amazing leadership. I mean, almost like a regiment or something by himself. And so we'll just have to see what happens in his turn. Like I say, everything else is moving forward, trying to put pressure on his army, trying to keep him contained. I really wanted to, I wish I had a little bit more speed over on that left flank so that I could start swinging the door faster, but really nothing I can do about it. Okay, I fully admit I got a little fast and loose with the old Wildcat here, and he ended up getting charged by his Wildcat in the flank. But the point is, I was trying to barrel in and stop that unit from flying, because every turn it can't fly, it gives me a chance to catch up with my slower army. And so that was my plan here. So I knew the Wildcat was going to take it hard, but he's pretty resilient. He can handle it. Jeremy doesn't really have any chance to do anything else. He has to attack and take out chaff. There's just his army doesn't work if my chaff keeps holding him up. So he tries to get rid of all the Crushers except one. And the one that he didn't get rid of, he shot a lightning bolt at, and it did 2 or 3 wounds. 2 wounds, I think. Here comes his Draken Rider into the Morax. And normally I would have thought maybe that Draken Rider could lasted 2 turns at the most, but we'll have to see how that goes. But problem with Morax and not having Banechan is they do struggle a little bit against the armor 5 and 6 guys. Now, if you're 4 or less, they'll butcher you. But they're really better going against soft things than they are against hard things. For the hard stuff, that's what you want the Great Axe for, and they will just absolutely chop things to ribbons. Jeremy sent one of his Draken princes into my Crudger that's standing there in the shadow of that tower. The Shaw, he won't even attack the stupid things when they're sitting next to a War Drum, because they are really hard to get rid of. Not as hard as the dwarf heroes by any stretch, but they're pretty choppy and everything. So he goes ahead and charges in there, does a couple of wounds to him, and but he does occupy him to keep from doing anything else. But really, he's just a leadership battery, and his job this game was to protect my war drum. So to that point, he's probably in a pretty good space, and to defend the back of the army, obviously. So this went okay over here, I thought. Him going after my chaff, he had to. I knew that was going to happen, but I was just hoping it would kind of disjoint him a little bit. One piece of tactical advice when you're playing these really fast armies like this is you need to be ready to play on turn 1 or 2. You don't get the turn 3 or 4 have fun thing, because they're going to be in your face early and often. And he went ahead and charged his unit of Silver Breeze into my Axe Horde, and that was just to keep me from doing anything. Actually, he did a wound, I think, so that wasn't that bad of a move. But you see, everything else is in position now. I'm really in a position to start swinging a door with that big Axe Horde in the middle pretty soon. Yeah, my chaff units took it pretty hard. I think the one of my Crudger was wavered, probably from the lightning bolts and stuff. So anyway, like I said, they took it pretty hard there. So basically, all that's left is the Wildcat and that one Crusher of those things. But like I said, I'm in a position where I've got him kind of jammed. So I don't mind him charging one horde of Drakons straight into those Great Axe units, because one horde won't kill me, and I'll probably kill them in return. So we'll just have to see how it goes. It is so tight in here that every little move is almost impossible to make. There's just no wiggle room, literally. One really good dice roll Jeremy had was wavering my unit of Orclings, and this is showing some of my inexperience of playing against shooting armies. I haven't played against one in so long. My spacing on my Orclings was off, and I'll fix it next game then if I had planned against a shooting army. But it kept me from swinging the door with the Axe Horde into his Forest Guard, which would have certainly almost, they're pretty damn sure that would have killed him. And the same thing applies. I killed the unit of Silver Breeze. One of my Orkling units went ahead and charged into one of his archer troops, and Bad Axe, the other Crudger, is coming up there to help him out and to spread some leadership love over in that direction. So, like I said, it is so tight. It's so jammed up. It's almost impossible to move without having any kind of coherent strategy at all. Over here, my Wildcat did go ahead and ground that unit of Drakons, because I did not need both of those units of Drakons going into my Great Axe Horde. And so I had to sacrifice him to keep that from happening. I did some wounds to his stupid Drakon, but like I said, the Morax aren't as good against tougher targets. So here he comes with a massive charge. One of the units of Drakons, the Palace Guard, and the Glade Stalkers all at the same time into my big Axe Horde. I guess he's learned this or Great Axe Horde. I guess he's learned this from Sean, that if you don't triple charge them, they're going to kill you. So he went ahead and slams everything in there. The Palace Guard rolled way above average. I think they did 5 wounds, and the thing is you're hindered, so you were hitting on 4s, 6 hits maybe, but it was just a couple above. But still, it just seemed like a little out of balance, especially since I'm going to lose this melee roll by like 1 or 2. So anyway, and then the Glade Stalkers, they come in and they do 1, and then the stupid Drakons just eviscerate me. Over on the other side, he went ahead and charged his archers into the flank of my Orklings. And I'm going to have to do something about that. But you could see that I'm getting really close here of closing the door on the middle of the table with that other Great Axe Horde. In retrospect, I think maybe I should have had the Caterpillar Horde over on the left-hand side, because I knew I needed to go through that woods at some point, and that would have sped me up. But and then realized that even though I had Caterpillar on the unit that's going to die here, that they weren't ever going to get to the middle of that woods because he had too much speed. Excuse me. So I knew we thought for next time I'll throw that in my book of tricks, that not to be, unless I could set it behind the woods and move through. Having the Caterpillar over here was a mistake. Yep, I lost my Great Axe Horde to that big charge, but now it's my Retribution Turn. This is what's left over. He went ahead and turned his Glade Stalkers toward the flank of my axe horde, and then the palace guard just backed up into the edge of the woods there. So now it's going to have to respond. I'm sitting here trading things. I think I get wavered by the stupid Draken Prince this time with a really high leadership roll. And so that's going to be bad for me. So we'll have to see how I react. Yes, my Crudger Big Axe did get wavered this turn, which was unfortunate. So now I'm going to have to turn that regiment of Morax around in my turn to face him because I don't want to get jumped over the top. I think he thought he could kill Big Axe in one go, then charge through and get to the flank of the War Drum. But, I mean, I think our leadership is ungodly at this point right next to that War Drum. So, I don't know if that was a good plan or not. As you can see here, the Orcs are going to slam the door on the middle of this table for the scenario. The mistake I probably made here is I never should have moved my Orclings into the woods, which I'll do later. And the other thing, of course, is not having Caterpillar on this unit, or I'd already be in a fight. Lastly, I could have, because he didn't put anything over on this side of the table, I could have just started angling toward the middle right off the bat instead of having to take that one turn to pivot. So just have to be a little bit more careful with my deployment on the next turn. You can see the little squigs, the little red things behind the units. Those are my Orcish skull poles until I figure out something better to use. Okay, this is my Retribution turn. I charged the Orclings into his unit of Glade Stalkers. And then, of course, the axe charged down the hill into the flank of the Palace Guard. I don't like the Palace Guard's chances of living through this. So my last Crusher, who I think was hiding around somewhere, went ahead and charged the unit of Drakens that are on the very rear there in the flank, or into the front, to try to ground them yet another turn, which I believe I do. His Wildcat had killed mine in the previous turn, but like I said, the big thing here is trading pieces for space, and it's not trying to, I'm trying to kill his army, but I mean, right now the big thing is the more pieces of his I take out, I'm playing for unit strength, so I'm definitely way ahead of on the unit strength thing because I've got so much with this army. You can see here I am trying to get to the middle and slam the door on the elf army. I did move the Orclings into the woods, which is a mistake. I was already within 12 inches of the center of the table, so I didn't have to get any closer. And I should have stayed out of reach of the mage and the horse archers that are coming around the corner there. My Crudger Bad Axe charges into one of the units of Kindred Archers, and I think the other Kindred Archers had wavered my Orclings the last time. Probably a lucky roll because I think I only see 2 wounds on them, so that means they had to roll a 10. Good roll, but anyway, we'll have to see how this turn comes out when I hit those Palace Guard. So I'm kind of getting scared at this point because I thought my Crudger would beat down that Draken Prince, but that's not happening. So I'm going to have to turn the other unit of Morax toward the Draken Rider and see who lives to tell about this, but. So there's like I said, I'm going to have to do that, but I need to figure out how to get around the tower and to get into this fight over here too, because I am in bad shape as far as positioning now, because now I'm jammed in the corner with 2 of my good units, but we'll have to see how it goes. Yep. Goodbye, Palace Guard. Pansies, take 50 in the flank. Just kidding. So now I am faced toward the middle of the table to see what other mayhem I can cause in the following turns. I did do a wound to the Glade Stalkers with the... I was just so happy when the Orclings do literally anything. So that made me happy to see that they did a wound to somebody. So over here, the Jeremy has to respond to the to that unit right in his face. He moved the Silver Breeze into the woods to stop me. He was going to charge me in the flank, and I cautioned him. I said, that's just useless. And so then he moved him over into the woods, which was a much better move. The stupid Archmage hits me, and I'm thinking, okay, I got armor 5, I'm going to get hit 4 times. I got to take 1 or 2. Cracks off 5 or 6 wounds into my unit. I could not even believe it. I mean, it was just like, and that was going to end up being my tragedy with that unit, is taking so much damage when I knew shouldn't have taken hardly any. So, not going to be good. Not going to be good. And my War Drum is just out of range of it too. So, probably that's probably a dead unit with just so much stuff looking right at it. So that was unfortunate, but again, I'm trading. He's killing stuff, but I've got the middle of the table all wrapped up now. Yes, despite having taken 9 wounds, the Crutcher finally shakes it off when he fails to waver him. And since I had turned that unit to protect myself from that Draken, now I was able to slam that regiment of Drakens in there. And so with all those attacks, surely to goodness I could take this thing down. So this turn is going to have a good effect on the battle because in this turn, both Draken Princes die. And he had been holding me up for the whole game. And so now I have 2 units that are basically in his flank or in his rear in one case. So that's going to throw a whole different plan into Jeremy instead of just moving straight forward to try to take out my middle. All right, I nimble charged Bad Axe into the Elf Mage, and I went ahead and flank charged into his archer troop with the Great Axe. Now, I look at that picture, and that could have potentially have been a bad move if I'd rolled Snake Eyes, because then I would have had my flank open to that unit of Drakens in the back, which would not be good. So, anyway, I was able to sweep them aside and kill them this turn. So, also did a wound to the Mage, so he couldn't shoot any more lightning bolts at me. So I managed to kill the unit of Silver Breeze and then just pivoted a little bit. I was pivoting to the point where the unit behind could not see the Axe Horde because he would have had to look, his leader point went right through the Axe Horde into my unit, so he couldn't see him. Or in the arc. There was some reason why he couldn't see him. I can't remember why. Probably the arc, honestly. But I've cleared them out. I've cleared out the archers in the middle. And I've started beating on the Mage a little bit, so that was all a good thing this turn. And plus, like I said, all of the guys down here in the corner are liberated now because they've killed their Draken Prince finally. As you can see here, both Drakens are gone. Draken Princes are gone, and now it has liberated my Morax, and they are starting to move to the attack. And now, like the other unit of Morax, is in the flank of each unit or in one of the units of Drakens and in the rear of the Gladestalkers. Yeah, this was tragic. His dice rolling went off and destroyed my unit of Axe, which is not an easy thing to do with their armor 5. But having the Wildcat helped a lot. And I think though he rolled really above average on some of the rolls to get to this point. But what really hurt me was the 5 that stupid Mage had done to me. I mean, I didn't think I would take that much damage. If he hadn't done that damage, I would have survived and easily killed whatever I wanted to kill on the next turn, basically. Yep, the guy that he failed to kill, the Crutcher with the aura of Wild Charge, I rolled a 5 on the dice, and so I was able to make a 14-inch flank charge into the flank of his Gladestalkers, which was really fun. I know he probably didn't expect that, but I'm really trying to do is erase unit strength where my unit strength can handle it. I did, like I said, I made a mistake, and I'll show you again later in the game what the mistake was as far as my Orclings, because I should have just had them in hiding the whole game and just let them throw some unit strength toward the middle of the table. So my unit of Morax went ahead and slaughtered the Gladestalkers. I moved the Crutcher up there in position to do whatever I need him to do, whether it's to charge into another fight or whatever. Really kind of hoping he would charge him and just keep slowing himself down. The Crutcher Bad Axe went ahead and had charged the Drakens in the woods and had injured them. I think at the end of the game they were up to 11 wounds, so I'd been beating on them a little bit with the heroes, and so that helped a lot. The his Wildcat had moved forward and was positioned to maybe be able to score in the following turn. Here's just a better picture of with flash this time so that you can see it a little bit better. I have no idea what that one dice is out in the middle of there doing nothing. I don't know if it wasn't one of my markers. Mine are all blue. So anyway, you could see what Jeremy has to. He's either going to have to jump into that melee or he's going to have to jump over that melee to get to scoring position. And it's coming down to the wire as far as turns here. So he's going to have to make a move now, because coming here, even going here and slaughtering stuff and getting in a fight is probably a mistake, because it'll just keep holding him back outside of 12 inches. So some reason I think he had his Wildcat. I don't know why it was even where it was at. Maybe he was trying to screen me from charging into his Drakens, but I went ahead and charged at the flank and slaughtered it. The War Drum axe is flank charged into the Drakens and did like 3 or 4 wounds, and then the my general Big Axe, he went ahead and charged, and so we get him there, and I think we actually wavered him this turn, and that's bad for him because if you look behind him, I had turned the Morax around. Now I am looking squarely at the rear for 120 something swings in the following turn if nothing else happened. My other Crudger, Bad Axe, he's over there, and he had taken 6 wounds, but like I said, he's a tough dude, and and Jeremy says, well, I could blow him away, and I'm like, no, I don't think that's going to happen. Well, the biggest problem was I'd already injured him, and so now he had lost some of his thunderous charge, and so Crush 1, needing 4s, I mean, still going to take a lot of hits. He took 6 wounds, which is pretty good, but he was able to shake that off, and now he was going to be able to beat on those Drakens again the next turn. So during his turn, he had moved both mages in and did 10 wounds to my Great Axe Horde, which is not good. That one kind of got me rattled a little bit to see that happen. I mean, that was some damn good dice rolling, and not in a good spot for me to have damn good dice rolling. So anyway, I should be okay. That's what my hope is here, especially since I'm still fighting over there with the my Crudger is still over there bashing on those Draken Riders. So we did have a turn 7, and that ensured the beatdown of the Elves. The Morax, of course, charged through and just slaughtered the Drakens from the rear. I mean, good gosh, that was a lot of swings, man. I mean, 60-something swings for 3s. So they go ahead and die. In his turn 7, he killed my Crudger and just overran, but he didn't overrun enough inches to get into the scoring zone. And so this is the end of the game shot. I think I win 5-0 because everything else he had was not scoring. Really made a mistake with my Snotlings my Orclings in this game, because I should have had another unit over there just hiding from his wizards and made him start chasing after them instead of being able to concentrate fire on my Great Axe unit. Ta-da! This was a really, really, really good tight battle. Jeremy's speed just was incredibly good, and his shooting was doing very good damage to me with his lightning bolt. I mean, I was not expecting it to do so much, so that kind of threw me off a little bit. Just some of my final thoughts. I thought Jeremy kind of set up too tight. I know in a corner you're trying to mass everything, but you're kind of pinned in the corner or you're pinned against the table side, and that reduces a lot of your flexibility. I mean, there's no outflanking to one side or the other when you do that. So maybe moving the deployment to more of the middle or to the other side of the table, because my army's so slow, I have a hard time reacting anyway. So trying to find a place where you can get multiple charges and it's wide open, it might be better than getting stuck behind the woods and not being able to see sometimes when you really need to be able to see with an army like his. Second thing, and these are all my mistakes, I need to check the spacing on my Orclings when fighting against a shooting army. Normally I place them in position so that I can pivot them out of the way and keep moving regardless. But this game I did not. I got them a little tight, and I think maybe because I was a little intimidated by shooting. So just a big mistake, because, I think honestly if I would have had them out of the way in one of the earlier turns, like turn 2 or 3, I would have rolled through the middle of his army. There's really not much he could have done about it, but a wavered unit of Orclings kept me from doing that. So I've got to be really careful on my spacing on my Orclings. And the other thing was getting my Crudger Big Axe charged when it was behind that tower. I didn't even have to peek out of that tower. I don't even know why that I put him exposed, because I was really just going to hide it behind the tower in case he jumped my line. Then I was going to jump all over him with Big Axe. But I left the corner open, and he was able to get a charge on him. Now, in the end, it was okay, because we did kill the Draken Prince, and then that opened it up, and it just the perfect turn of the game. It was like the waves parted, and there was this perfect flank charge I was going to have because of that. Nobody could have. I mean, I don't care who you are, you wouldn't have anticipated anything happening to that point. But the Morax getting into his Draken Prince and killing it, and then Big Axe, because Big Axe had a huge effect on the game because of that, because he ended up going in and wavering his unit of Draken Riders in the late game, which helped a lot, along with the War Drum, which were the two things that were stuck behind that tower fighting. So it was an inadvertent reserve. I planned it that way. No, not really. I had a couple of times I had bad dice this game because I should have been killing stuff and I was wavering instead. But in both of the cases, wavering it was a better shield than if I would have killed them, then I would have got charged by Drakens, which means I would have been dead. So the fact that the terrain and the wavered unit protected me, that was huge. So I'm just going to not have to be so hard on the dice rolling thing. I was really fast and loose with my Wildcat model, but I thought I felt like I had to sacrifice it to just keep those Drakens in the corner and pinned against the side of the table, because it's a long way from one end of the table to the other. You need 2 complete turns almost to get in position to score in that scenario. And by holding them in place and sacrificing units to do it, I really think that helped me out. So I mean, he scored no points, so I guess it did help me out. My Orclings could have been the difference between defeat and victory. I had a couple of units of them, and all I had to do late game was hide them. And instead, I moved them out there, and I didn't really need chaff, but they ended up getting shot off on like turn 5 or 6. And that could have been 2 victory points that could have won the game for me if it was close. Last thing is that's on this list is I used 2 of my personal rules, which is focus on the scenario. I mean, I set up heavy toward the middle of the table because that's what I wanted. I didn't want to set up on an end and try to maneuver in. I want to get there and get to fight, because my army's pretty good at fighting, I have to admit, because that's all it does. There's no magic, it has no shooting, it has no nothing. The second thing is don't play and drink, or drink and play if you want to win. Last game, I drank too much. I was unfocused. My dice sucked. I lost it. I mean, it was just totally out of it. So this time was a much better game by not introducing alcohol into the mix. Now, if I'm just playing for the hell of it, that's fine. But these practice games are a little more serious than playing just a regular game night week, which I really don't care either way, because I'm really there to goof off. So I think in the focusing, and I think even the last tournament I went to, I drank in my game 3 and lost that game too. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to focus on rule number 3. And I cannot remember what rule number 2 is. I'm sure I'll come back with it in a minute. But I know number 3 is don't drink and play. But that's a big thing. One funny thing after the last game is Eric Trowbridge, he admonished me for blaming dice for it, because he says you never learn anything if you blame dice. And he's absolutely right. So I'm going to try not to mention dice in any of my battle reports from now on, except that the fact that, like the first point here is that sometimes, you think they're bad and they're really not as bad as you think they are. The one that always gets me is Snake Eyes, and that's just I'm not even going to go off on Snake Eyes. But anyway, it was an enjoyable game, very tight game, came all the way down to the end. I think my plan worked out just fine. Jeremy threw some definite hitches in there that got me rattled just a little bit, but I was really focused on trying to get the unit strength in the middle of the table and hold that part of the game. And so that's why I think that I was able to be successful.